Do you understand how valuable the bullet in your gun is? It was manufactured by an Englishman at full pay. It made its way here on an English ship. By the time that single bullet has made its way to the barrel of your gun, it has cost the Crown 6 shillings. You don't waste it on peasant stock.
Okay, let's all go. Let's go.
Hello and welcome. Welcome and hello. This is Wait, You Haven't Seen? It's a show where we talk about movies and specifically talk about a movie at least one of us has never seen before. I'm your host, Travis, aka TV's Travis. This is episode number 316. And our movie this week is the action, historical, musical, epic RRR. And chatting with me about it, it's MC Williams. MC, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. Happy to be here talking about this movie.
Excellent. Yeah. All right. So you had seen this one before. I had not. When did you first watch this? Kind of what's your history with RRR?
I think I stumbled across it shortly after it first came to Netflix. Just honestly sitting around with my wife going, what looks good? This looks bonkers. I must watch this. And it was everything I wanted and more.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, I'd heard of this movie. There was a big kind of fanfare about it. And there were some people that I knew that had seen it and said, dude, RRR is crazy. You got to watch it. One person in particular who was in my chat room tonight, Bombats, absolutely adores this movie. And I kept hearing about it, and it was one of those where I'm like, all right, I want to watch that. I have not watched a lot of Indian cinema, but it's always been fascinating to me. And I love the idea of exploring cinemas of different cultures because I grew up in Hollywood stuff, and other cultures' cinemas are very different, but also not. And it's kind of cool to see the similarities, to see the differences, to see how stories are told. But there was the one barrier to entry for me on this movie was only because of the fact that I am way too damn busy. It's a 3-hour runtime, and I am not the type of person that likes to pause a movie partway through and come back to it. If I can help it, when I start a movie, I want to go all the way through to the end. It's that old school theater going experience in me. I don't love the idea of pausing my movies if I can help it. And so
I'm the same way.
Okay. Well, good. I feel I'm in good company then. But I felt like if I was going to watch this movie, I wanted to give it the proper experience and sit down and watch all 3 hours. And so it was just kind of, I kept kicking the can down the road. Like, I'm going to get to that one sometime. Oh, I really need to watch RRR. So you were like, RRR, you got to watch this movie. I said, fine, let's do it. I am ready. I will strap in and go for it. And I'm going to tell you right off the bat that whatever I had expected of this movie, I wasn't ready for what this movie was. And it was so much fun. I was cackling at points at the ridiculousness of it, but I loved it. And then at the same time, there was storytelling going on, and there was emotion, and there was character arcs that I was not ready for, that I really enjoyed. There were characters that I absolutely despise, and I was cheering on their demise at the end. Like all of it. They did so much in 3 hours at a pace that felt good. Like it didn't feel like a 3-hour movie. It reminded me of the experience. I went and saw The Green Mile in theaters back in 98, I think it was. That's a 3-hour movie. Did not feel like it. The pacing in that movie was spectacular. This was that same feeling where it's like, wow, that was a 3-hour movie. And it doesn't feel like that. It feels like an epic. It absolutely does, but it never feels long. It never feels drawn out. Even though I would say that if the whole thing was done in normal speed and with no slow motion, it's probably about 2 hours and 15 minutes.
That's fair.
Roughly. A lot of slow motion in this, but it works. The visuals. This was a visual film first with a pretty fantastic story being told. And the more I looked into it, the more I kind of found out, oh, this isn't just kind of a cool story. This is historical fiction in a lot of ways too. because they're actual historical figures being told in a fictionalized manner. And that's when it reminded me of another movie. Um, so have you ever seen a movie from 2006 called Fearless?
I don't believe I have. No.
So it was 2006, Jet Li, directed by Ronnie Yu, and it's the
Hmm.
story of Huo Yunjia, which I'm probably butchering, and I apologize. But he was the founder of the Jinwu Sports Foundation or Federation.
Hmm.
If you've ever seen Fist of Fury or Fist of Lightning,
Yeah.
um, he is the founder of that group that the main character is a part of, who dies kind of at the beginning off screen fighting the Japanese fighter.
Okay.
Fearless is sort of his story leading up to that point when he has that fatal fight with the Japanese fighter. But it's that same thing. It's a historical fiction. So it's taking a real life person and telling a fictionalized version of their story and kind of how they came to be. And I loved Fearless for that kind of storytelling. So once I got to probably right before the end credits rolled, and this is when I sort of was realizing, oh, that's what they're doing here. And then I read a little bit more, and that just took this to a different level because I love that kind of stuff. I love taking real life characters and, hey, here's a neat story involving them and maybe how they came to be who they are.
Yeah, I'm ashamed that it took me until the gear up scene there in the like final act to realize that they were also doing a mythological epic tied into this whole thing as well.
Yeah, that was the other one too. So the Alluri Sitarama Raju is the character. It's
Hmm.
wrong. I apologize to anyone out there that's listening to this. I'm going to butcher names. I'm going to try. um, but that is a real life character, and I did not realize I've seen an image of that person before
Hmm.
and that look, but I did not make the connection until he showed up right there. That epic shot of backlit with the fire and the flaming arrow and all of that. And I was like, oh. And Beam as well. Beam is also a real historical figure, but I like intertwining their stories, and we'll kind of get to that.
Hmm.
But yeah, this was epic isn't the right word for a movie like this, right? Because it's like it goes beyond epic. It's sort of like the first time I saw The Return of the King, and that redefined
Hmm.
what an epic film felt like for me because of scale of what was going on. And this movie managed to have that scale of events while also keeping it very much a story about these couple of people, these two guys.
Hmm.
And I loved that a lot. So really convenient how the two real characters had a time where nobody really knows where they were. Yep, that helps.
Yep, that works.
Mythological characters can do that. So yeah, this is a story of Beam, who in the beginning of the movie is posing. Okay, so the opening of this, first of all, 3 hour movie, and we spend the first half hour, I would say, getting our
Hmm.
setup, introducing our characters before our like main title is shown. Um, which I love doing that because that's such like a ballsy power move by a director
Hmm.
to do that. The Departed did that. Martin Scorsese, it was like 25 minutes in and then The Departed. And I was like, oh, okay, I see what we're doing here. And RRR does that because you have the opening scene in that little village with the little girl and she's tattooing. The first of a couple of faces that I was surprised was in this.
Hmm.
First of
I'm
all,
just gonna go find a
Ray
cash
Stevenson
machine.
as the British Governor Scott.
Hmm.
I loved Ray Stevenson. He could play so many different character like roles. He was very versatile because I've seen him be very like warm, and then you see him in this, and when he would play a heavy, he was so good at it because he had that presence. There's a steeliness to his face that he can portray. Plus, he's
Hmm.
just a mountain. He's 6'4" and he's broad shouldered and he's just a big, like burly presence. So it was super fun to see him. But then the wife, Catherine, I didn't recognize her at first, but you know who that is?
I do not. I'm terrible with faces.
So that is Allison Doody, who a lot of folks would know as Elsa from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Oh.
Yeah. It took me far too long to recognize her, but then I did, and I was delighted because I loved her turn as Elsa, and then in this, she's terrible. Oh,
Oh,
Catherine is
she's so bad.
so awful.
Oh, she's such a good villain.
Yeah, both of them. Her, Catherine, and what is Governor Scott?
Mm-hmm.
Scott Buxton and Catherine Buxton. Those two are absolutely awful, and they're so good at it. And I mean, all the English characters in this are portrayed as just terrible, which
Fair.
it's fair. Yeah, that's definitely a reputation that's been earned. Is it a little embellished? Probably, but not maybe as much
Not
as one
much.
might think. They're
Not much.
pretty awful. And so yeah, I loved seeing them, and that whole opening scene where Catherine is just like, I like her, I want this girl, and they throw down some coins, and they like misinterpret what that means. That alone was rough enough, but when the mom Loki is trying to stop the car, and you get that. First of all, the one British soldier is just immediately gunned to the back of her head. Like, whoa, dude, zero to murder that quickly? Okay.
Yeah, no hesitation.
But then the governor's like, hey, we don't waste a bullet. That bullet costed £1 sterling, which was a different clip than the one I played at the beginning, but the same exact speech. You can tell that he's rehearsed that one. And so what he says, like something to find a different method or clear the road, and dude just comes up with like a tree trunk and clocks her to clear her out. And I was just like, oh shit, like I wasn't expecting that, honestly.
No, it starts you off with a bang.
And it just goes from there. So like we get that sequence. So there's our villains set up, and sort of the inciting incident, right? They take the little girl Molly. I did have in my notes that Loki did not look old enough to have a daughter that age. I don't know what it is. She, like, I thought she was 18 or 19 maybe, and like it was her little sister, but then they keep saying daughter and mother, and I'm like, how old are these? Okay, all right. And then we get I liked how then it was the fire. So we're going to get our backstory for Ram, or Raju, as a character. And who boy, I mean, you want to talk about introducing a character? What a way to introduce him. And this, okay, visually, so much of this movie used visual effects the way I like them, which is extensions and augmentations. There's a few things where it's clearly everything's got to be full CG. There's no other way you could do that. But they did such a good job of mixing that together, where you'd get a shot and they might have a couple of hundred extras, but through set extensions and digital manipulation, and suddenly it looks like thousands. And they did that right here in this opening sequence with the character of he's Ram, right? That's his name.
Ram, after the Avatar of Vishnu.
Yeah. And I was at this point calling him Super Cop, because he's the one, like when all of the peasants are slamming at the fence and all the other British soldiers are cowering away, and he is just stock straight. And then the way he attacks them, because the what is it? The rock gets thrown, right? And I did capture, I have to play this because it was too funny not to. That guy in the red shirt and turban that threw the rock didn't say anything else other than he kept saying over and over, and it cracked me up. I could not stop myself. Just but Ram going after him was like just badass, dude, because he runs, jumps over, and this is our first kind of slow-mo shot, and it's just that shot of him with his like beaten stick jumping over the fence into a crowd of people. And I'm like, I appreciate a movie that if they're going to go to ridiculous levels, start me off at ridiculous, because you can go from there. But if you start off real. Like if you start off as John Wick, you don't really want to go to triple X levels at that point, right? You don't want to
Mm-hmm.
go to Fast and Furious unless you work your way to that. But if you are, say, Fast and Furious, and you start your movie off with an insane car stunt, now you have established what you're going to do throughout the rest of your movie. This movie did that. RRR was like, here you go. Crazy. Dude's going to jump and just take on hundreds of dudes at once and somehow come out on top.
Yeah, it gives you some of the same beats as a superhero movie. Will let you know where you are and what these people are capable of.
Yes. Yes. And he does it all with an amazing mustache. Because
Yes, that mustache is glorious.
that mustache in that opening scene is just something else. But that the way that whole scene was done too, like the choreography and the filmmaking around something like that is so impressive because there's so many moving parts and so much going on, so many people involved. Because you can get away with a wide crowd shot and fill some of that in with CG and have, a couple of hundred extras and you're fine there. But when you've got those in tight shots, when he is engulfed in people and like suffocating almost, and they're not doing the Bruce Lee fight of one at a time, they're gang piling on him and the camera's getting right in there, like that was impressive looking, and I felt the claustrophobia of that.
Oh yeah, I mean it was until very recently the most expensive Indian movie ever made, and it shows.
Yes, it does. And then for him to kind of as a character, he almost hulks out and like gets out of that, and he's moving people because he is focused. He is going to get the dude that threw the rock because the officer told him to. The officer said, arrest that man, bring him to me. And he's like, got you, boss. I'm going to get that guy. And it's just a great introduction. It tells you so much about the character with very little dialogue from him. We don't need that. We can get it through his actions. Visual storytelling is very, very powerful. So we go through his whole thing, and then we get the water. And this is where we meet Beam, who we don't have names for either of these characters at this point. That whole opening sequence, we just have him doing the thing. And then, I forgot. So after he does all of that, he captures the guy, right? He actually gets the dude and drags him back through the crowd. Again, really cool action scene, like sequence of stuff. Brings him back in, and then we smash cut to an award ceremony sometime later where 3 white British officers all get special commendations and he doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, okay, all right, I get. And so then his anger after that, going in and training, which by the way, Ram Charan, I think is his name. Again, apologize for my pronunciations. His workout routine, because holy crap, that guy's in some good shape.
Oh, he is ripped.
And he is ripped in a very different way from the actor playing Beam. I think he was being called. I watched it behind the scenes. Tarek, I believe. But NTR. He is ripped too, but in a very different way, and I like that because he's the tribesman or the tribal, and we get a little bit of backstory of like. What is it? Did we get the scene where somebody is talking about how they took the girl from the village and somebody is going to be coming to get her? Do we get that?
Yeah,
scene
they talk about the tribals being sheep, but they have a shepherd.
Yes,
and then we cut to him fighting a tiger with a lion.
Yeah. Okay. So we get that scene and then his introduction where he's in the woods, because that single favorite shot of the film is his introduction shot, where it's the twisting camera and we're seeing him and his reflection in the water, but it's upside down, so it's starting off on the reflection and then the camera twists. So good between the director and the cinematographer and everybody that set that shot up and figured out how to do it. Just chef's kiss, like visually arresting and just beautiful introduction. And then you see him and he is again ripped, but in a very different way. He's like more like a power lifter almost, or like a farmer.
Yeah,
You
he's
know,
got that work muscle.
yeah, exactly what you would expect out of somebody that is working for a living, is just thick and like muscular without being the dehydrated six pack chiseled that you would see in like a bodybuilder, which Rom has because he's a soldier.
Hmm.
And I like that that kind of juxtaposition in those two different styles. And then, I mean, just kicking straight into a ridiculous action sequence of him in the woods running from the wolf, which is awesome. Before the tiger gets involved, and I like him sprinting and looking over to see the tiger, and like, oh shit, there's one. Oh boy, such a good introduction to that. And I liked his friends when he comes running up. It's not a wolf, it's a tiger. Like they were not expecting that. It was real good. So
It's a glorious moment of just him using his surroundings, which we'll see later. It's a really nice nod to how he fights and how he thinks about the battlefield.
yeah, well, and it's great because again, just like with Rom and the setup for him and telling us about who he is, or at least who we know him to be so far,
Hmm.
with very little dialogue and a lot of action, we get the same thing here. We get a ton of introduction, and he's a very different type. Um, you know, Rom is very like bullheaded, straightforward. He saw a thing and he's going to do that thing and nothing is going to get in his way. And then Beam, in his, is using his environment, has friends to help him out, and he's got nets set up and like traps, and he's doing all this. But he's also strong as an ox because the whole thing of him like grabbing those ropes to hook them together and fighting off the tiger's strength and like the primal scream. And I just loved all of it.
Oh
Um,
yeah, it's full Captain America bicep porn.
yeah, it is. Oh yeah, and I'm here for it. And then title card, and that's when I was like, all right, nicely done. Um, that's when, and I like the way the story unfolds because then they get to meet, and Rom is uh, more or less given the job of finding this shepherd, this person who's coming for the governor and coming for the girl. And you're right, Bombats. The title card is after the kid is safe, so they haven't met yet. But he's out looking for him, and decides, oh, there's rumblings of revolution. It's a great idea, right? Use that to your advantage to find and sniff out the what you're looking for. Use the kind
Hmm.
of revolution. So he's going somewhat undercover, and I did like. It took me a second to figure out that it was actually the same character because he had grown the beard out a little bit and trimmed back the
Hmm.
mustache. So it was just a quick second, like, okay, nope, that's him. But he's kind of going undercover, looking for this guy, and the way that they meet is great because he found someone that was connected to him. That was not Jangu, um, uh, Laku at the meeting, and everything's going smooth with that. Like Laku is basically going to take him right to the guy
Hmm.
until that stupid policeman at the checkpoint. Because he's like, I'm an officer. Just give us, let us pass or whatnot. And when he comes back, and I get it, you're on autopilot. You've got an officer there. You salute, and he salutes him. That's all it took. So boom, runs. And the way it all works out with the little boy going out to fish, and then that train, which was a miniature and CG. I couldn't tell what was what.
Hmm.
Watching the behind the scenes and seeing how they put all that together during the movie, seamless. I can't tell what
Oh
was
yeah.
miniature, what was CG. It was so well done, and such a cool action sequence. The way it unfolded with Rom on top of the bridge, and he's looking around because he's lost his trail. You got Beam down on the riverbank, and they both see what's going on at the same time, and that connection between them. And then, just all that without words. They don't need to speak to each other to figure out what they're trying to do. And it's just an insane action scene. Like just a crazy idea to tie the rope together. He's on a horse, he's on a motorcycle. They're going to jump off the bridge and like swing underneath it. Um, but I thought it was really cool too that uh, Rom has a flag of the country,
Mm-hmm.
and Beam goes after the kid, the sole child,
Mm-hmm.
really mirroring their stories at that point and what their motivations are, even though we
Mm-hmm.
don't know that about Rom yet. It's a very nice piece of storytelling right there. And the way that sequence ends, right? They rescue the kid, toss him to the shore. I loved the getting the flag in the water and like handing it off so he can wrap up in that, because I was trying to figure out what the point of the flag was right up until he wrapped himself up in it to go through that fireball. I was like, that's clever.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah, I had the same way. I had no idea what was going on until he threw it. He wrapped himself in it. I was like, oh, I get it. And plus, it's reinforcing again that theme of fire and water, which is what it's gorgeous the way they do it.
Mm-hmm. And I did, in watching the behind the scenes, the director, SS Rajamouli, said he's not really like into a lot of metaphor in movies. He just kind of wants to, let the story tell the story. But there were a few of those that he threw in there, and that was kind of one of them. Is like that water and fire. There's one later on with tears that worked pretty well. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I just love like the interplay, and then it ends with them, high fiving basically, and we get the title card. And it's a cool way for them to meet, and it's a great way to set up like that they had a common goal while also each having their own individual goals, and it was a great way to sort of do that. So
Yeah,
I really liked it.
it's a wonderful meet cute. It gives them a really great motivation to be friends. Like, oh, we're the same kind of person. We're the same kind of badass. Let's be friends.
Yeah, yeah, and then we get to spend some time just with them getting to know each other and hang out, and like uh, there's a moment in this montage where they basically are. To me, it was a recreation of the running on the beach scene in Highlander with
Mm-hmm.
Christopher Lambert and Sean Connery, where they're sprinting down the beach, or Rocky, if you want to go that route, right? Rocky and Apollo running on the beach, except that it's these two on a motorcycle and a horse racing each other. It was great. I love that.
Oh, it's
Um,
gorgeous.
Plus, I like the fact that it's the tribesman on the motorcycle,
Mm-hmm.
and the police officer from the city riding the horse. I just like that too. But also them like working out together was
Mm-hmm.
a lot of fun. We get foreshadowing of what they're going to do at the end of the movie when Beam has him up on his shoulders and he's doing squats.
Mm-hmm.
Was great. Like it was just this silliness of like them getting to know each other and hanging out. And meanwhile, Rom is going around town with a sketch of the man he's looking for that looks remarkably like Beam. And how he didn't all right, I might just have missed it, but did he realize it was the right person, or was he completely unaware?
I think he was unaware, but I think part of that was that he didn't want to see that Beam was the guy in the picture, so he's looking everywhere but his friend. Because obviously it can't be this guy. Look at this. This guy's such a nice guy, and he's a Muslim. This obviously isn't the right guy. Obviously this isn't him.
Bombats brings up a good point. The sketch was of Laku.
Oh, the sketch was of Laku. You're right.
That's true. That's true. Okay, that's my bad. I misinterpreted that. That makes a lot more sense. He's looking for that guy. And I do like how even Beam at one point is like, well, what do you got there? And he's like, oh, it's somebody I'm looking for. Why don't you show me? If he lives around here, I can probably find him. And he accidentally drops it in the mud. And at
Mm-hmm.
first I'm like, did he do that on purpose? No, I don't think he would have. So yeah, I just love like this whole thing. And they're both doing their mission unbeknownst to the other one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what is the Muslim name that he's using?
Oh, I do not remember.
Because I know it's not Akbar. That's but it's something similar to that. But he's Akhtar. Thank you.
Akhtar, that's right.
And so you've got, at this point we know Akhtar and Raju. And Akhtar is trying to figure out how to get into the house. And I love him seeing Jenny and immediately being taken with her, but then also taken with her kindness. She's the one
Mm-hmm.
kind English person in this movie. Although there's probably a few people at the party that weren't terrible. but we'll get there. But he sees her, he's smitten with her, but he's also like, we got to figure out how to get in. And then you've got Rom going around trying to find his person, and they don't realize what the other one is doing. But they're, obviously their paths have crossed, but then it's crossing again because he sees Jenny. And I love, this was some romantic comedy, just adorableness of trying to set her up or set him up with her. It was killing me. I was loving it. And he said, like, what is it? He get on the bike and he just grabs a handful of nails and throws them down. He's like, pull over here. He's like, why? He goes, the car's going to stop. How did you know it was going to stop? Oh, I threw some nails down. Like, he just tells him straight out. It was so good. But I do love this whole sequence because Akhtar goes off with Jenny and they don't understand each other at all. So there's just like a word here or there. And him trying to remember her name is the most adorable thing ever. It is.
Oh, it's so cute.
Good. It's just great because, and it's paid off perfectly because he goes through all of that and it's him like, man, that's a really long name. And he asks her again and she says the same thing. And so he's like repeating it to himself. And then when he gets back and he's talking to Rom later, it's so good because he's like, yeah, she told me her name. It's a really long one, but and then he says the whole thing. I was like, dummy. That's not what her name. No. Like, that's not all her name. She was telling you not to call her ma'am.
Yeah, no, it's not madam. It's just Jenny. No, it's not madam. It's just Jenny. No, it's not madam. It's just Jenny. Like it was so funny.
It was perfect. We also got a really emotional scene because that's also when he finds Molly in the house, and she is just like, "I want to go now," and he knows he can't. It was rough. But it was so well acted by the two of them.
Oh God, yeah.
Because again, a lot of emotion coming from Junior NTR in that without saying a lot. And then he does sing, and music is very important and becomes such a powerful moment so many times throughout this movie, right? The song, Molly singing her song at the beginning is kind of what makes Catherine want to keep her. And then we see her singing it again, but then Rom sings, or not Rom, Beam sings it to her as a way to calm her. And you can tell, like, all he wants to do is take her home, but he knows he can't do it right now. And even though he tries, I like him even trying to get away and then be like, nope, I can't yet. But then he goes back to Rom and they continue on their way. But this whole time, like, we're going to get to a point where they're going to butt heads, that something's going to come about. And I liked the way their story unfolded because it's very much for the first two acts, a bit of cat and mouse. And we know Rom's trying to find Beam and Beam is trying to rescue Molly. And that is their whole thing. And Rom figuring it out beforehand is heartbreaking. Like the way the emotion on his face when he realizes that his best friend is also the person he's trying to stop is rough. And that's right around the time that he gets bit by the snake, right?
Yes, that's right around the same time.
Because he found Lachu, and captured him and was like getting information out of him before the snake bites him. And it's apparently poisonous, but you know what? Death is mortal injury is for our main characters are just suggestions.
Well, we also get that nice moment of like, no one knows how to cure this except Beam, who is so in tune with nature that of course he knows how.
Yeah, that's true. I did like that whole sequence because, like, you've got Rom coming down the street and he is in rough shape. This venom is taking him out, and he's trying to get the attention of Beam and his friends, and they're not seeing it before he hears like the banging, and he stops and backs up and finds him and goes right into, this is my best friend, I got to save him type of mode. And throughout all of this, Ram is, knocking on death's door, so he can't say anything. And it gave me one of the most heartbreaking moments, which is that line, your friendship is more valuable than this life, brother. I'll die with pride. That one just gut punched.
Ooh, right in the feels.
And brilliantly done by both actors. Just amazing. But he knows he's got to go rescue her, and this is his one chance. And so he leaves him there to heal up, which does really quickly, I might add. Again, Beam's good, right? He's good at his craft. We get my second favorite shot in this movie. So Beam's introduction, perfect. Beam's reintroduction in this scene, in this party scene that takes place. Oh, I skipped over something somewhat important to this movie, which is
the dance battle.
Jenny inviting Beam to a party, which is that day. And so we get a little makeover montage, always fun, before Ram and Beam show up. Ram and Akhtar show up to the party dressed to the nines, and we get the dance. And so this movie won one Academy Award, but it was for this song. And holy hell, is it worth it?
Oh, absolutely. I think this may have been how I found the movie, was seeing them perform this number live. It was, I think, the first time this movie crossed my radar.
I could imagine. And then when I was watching the behind the scenes, and they were talking about, the director was talking about, we knew it was going to be popular in India, is what he said. Like, we had it because Ram and Junior NTR are such big stars there, and it's kind of built in. He's like, we knew it would do fine there. But they did a premiere at the Chinese Theater in LA, and he found out that it was sold out. And then he looked out in the crowd, and it was all Americans. And people were getting up and going up in front of the stage during the dance sequence and dancing on the stage.
Oh, wow.
During the movie. And that whole sequence at the party, on paper, if I told you, okay, I've got this action movie, right? And we've got action going on all this, but in the middle of it, we're going to stop all the action for a dance sequence, dance battle song that's going to be a full song, full, like, it's not Bollywood, but it's like that kind of dance number. You would look at me and be like, that's going to not work at all. But it's perfect. It is pitch perfect in this movie, because at this point we're building to this wonderful friendship between Akhtar and Raju and their brotherhood and how in sync they are. And this sequence shows that, because this is the first time where they become like one person. Because again, it's got that rom-com cuteness of, like, Akhtar is all, he's uptight and he's fidgety, but he looks great in his suit, and Jenny wants him to dance and all of that. But then you get the dumb English dude that is jealous because he's dancing with Jenny. So he kind of throws the gauntlet down. And I like...
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Your classic rom-com bully.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And then Raju's like, not flamenco, my brother. You know not to. What's not to? And then kick it in. It goes from 0 to 10. Just immediate. And it is phenomenal. It is stuck in my head. It won't go away. The music, the beat, the way it starts too is wonderful, with the drum and that drum rhythm, which comes back, right? The drum rhythm that he starts the song with is what he uses to get his attention. And when he's dying from the snake bite, he'll use that again. But that whole sequence from the time Ram hits the drums until the end of that song is just infectious. And
it's beautiful, it's bright, it's incredible, and you get that first moment of seeing Ram sacrifice himself for Beam. You see it goes both ways.
Yeah. Yep. I love that, because they're doing the dancing and everybody's getting involved, and it slowly becomes kind of a dance off, and it ends up with just the two of them. And I love, first of all, they're just beautifully in sync the whole time. And from what I was seeing in the behind the scenes, it was a lot of work to get that. Because as Ram mentioned, like the choreography itself wasn't so much the difficult part as getting it in sync together the way that Rajamouli wanted, was the hard part. They did a lot of takes. I think it's 15 days working on that or something.
And it pays off because they are so perfectly in sync. It's incredible to watch.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And you can tell that they are having a good time doing it too. Just the facial expressions, the dancing, the dance movements are wonderful. Playing with the suspenders. I mean, the costuming in this movie is epic, front to back, like everything. They look so good in every scene. I mean, it helps when they're that good looking to start with,
It does.
but still, like you got to put the right costumes on them, and they put the right costumes on them. But then when it's down to just the two of them, and you get the like, one of them looks over at the other one, and then they turn towards each other, and it's like, oh yeah, it's on. It's that like almost sibling rivalry, right? It's that brothers just, I'm going to beat you at this. No, I'm going to beat you at it, and they're going for it. But you're right. That's the first time we see Ram, and this is the first crack in his character to tell you that there's a little more to him, because he sees that everyone is cheering for him except Jenny, and for him to kind of throw the competition, so to speak, for Akhtar's benefit. I liked a lot, because we cut straight to, oh, my legs are burning. I'm so tired, and he's carrying him. It's awesome.
Which again, they're once again throwing back to what we're going to see at the end with them piggyback.
Yep. Yeah. So that leads to Ram finding Laku and torturing him and getting the information out of him and figuring out who Akhtar is. The snake bite. And then after he rescues him and he puts him in the bed, and he's like, at this point, Ram can't talk still. And he's like, my name's not Akhtar. I'm not Muslim. My name's Beam. I'm here to rescue someone. I got to go do this now. And that's where we get the gut punch line. And then it's the reintroduction. Now we get the reintroduction of Beam in my second favorite shot in the whole thing. And it was, again, watching some behind the scenes footage and seeing the crowd in LA reaction. Somebody put a camera on the crowd in the theater. Their reaction to it was what I was doing, just cheering. Because that shot of that truck busting through the door, because we had established earlier that there's like an airlock. And so they sent one guy ahead to time it. And this truck. And what I liked was they never openly told you, oh yeah, that tiger we saw earlier. No, he captured that. Because he says, I'm going to use you for my own means, but then we kind of forget about it, except for him carrying those giant hunks of meat at one point. And the joke of like, because it was during their sort of getting to know you montage, and Ram and his uncle, and he's like, do you think that's enough meat for him? Kind of thing. He's like, leave him alone. He's fine. But I liked that at that point, you're sort of like, okay, he kept the tiger, but he had more than a tiger in there.
Yes, like at that point, Beam has been so ridiculous and silly and self-effacing that you forget what a hardcore badass he really is until this moment.
Because when that truck comes in and skids sideways, and the cover rips off of it, and he's there, torches in both hands, jumps off. I mean, that is how you make an entrance, right? Like in my head, I'm picturing, you remember Batman Forever? And the line from the Riddler in that, your entrance was good, his was better. That's that moment. Like Beam jumping off of that truck, animals flying out of all the cages, super slow-mo with the fiery torches. Oh God, it was just so good. And that is a scene I cannot imagine, that entire action sequence, what that had to have been like to film. Because watching behind the scenes on it, bonkers. like they had so much going on, and it's not just like the choreography of it, which is crazy, the wire work of it, which is nuts, but
Hmm.
visual effects, set extensions, all of the animals are full CG. Um, the images of people running around doing choreography, and you've got people in blue, like spandex suits carrying like a 6 foot blue tiger, is great. Um, but just so much like, and seeing some of the things they were using, like they're using LED strips as markers for the animal paths. So they would program
Oh.
them to
Hmm.
light up in sequence for the animal's path and how fast it would move so the camera could follow that. Was kind of neat. And like they would do that, but they couldn't do that for every animal because you got actors and they're going to get tangled in the wires and all that. So for like background animals, they had RC cars with like a pole and a light on top of that as a marker that were driving around too. So you, uh,
Wow.
Junior NTR was saying like there would be scenes where you'd be fighting something and then like an RC car would come flying up behind you and you had to react to that. And it was a deer or something and like just all sorts of stuff. And I'm going to tell you, like, yes, I could tell that the animals were CG, but it still looked really good. Like,
Yeah, you can
really
tell,
good.
but you don't care. You
No,
don't care. It's so cool. You don't care.
you don't, because it fits in with everything, and they managed to merge it all together so well, and they did a great job of getting the lighting right to match throughout most of it, especially for
Hmm.
things like the torches. Um, because they weren't carrying like lit torches for all those shots. There were a few kind of hero shots where they would have a lit torch, but a lot of it was just a light bulb on the end of a stick so that
Hmm.
they could have the lighting right and then they could comp in your fire afterwards. But it looked great and it helped to match lighting for all the animals that they would animate in because they would animate a lot of that, I guess, ahead of time. Um, and then be able to work that into a shot or work the choreography around the animation, which was kind of cool. And there's one absolutely epic one, which is Beam with like a jaguar or something that jumps on him, and he has to grab it from behind his head and throw it, and he throws it at someone else first of all, which is like, all right, cool, use that as a weapon. I love it. Um, but it's a one shot going from him throwing the jaguar to running and then doing the knee slide underneath the tiger that's lunging at him. So well
Hmm.
done. Just looks awesome. And that tiger flies over him. And I kind of like the tiger almost has a look on its face of like, ah, damn it, as he flies by.
They're like, how'd you pull that off?
Yeah. But then immediately lands on another, like a soldier, and just starts chewing on the soldier, which is perfect. This is exactly what I would expect. Um, but that whole sequence is great. And then it gets kind of a part two, which is when Ram shows up on his
Hmm.
thing and makes his grand entrance. And this is where they come to blows because you realize Beam now realizes who Ram's, and then they have their fight. And it's just heartbreaking to watch this because you can see the emotion running through all of it. Um, and it's the thing that we as an audience have known since they met was going to happen. And it is not easy to write believable arc of something that doesn't feel forced when you know what the outcome is going to be.
Hmm.
Um, so it takes a lot of artistry to be able to tell that story in a way where, as an audience, we buy into it. I never once questioned that these two were friends and got along. Um, and but also knowing that like at some point it's just gonna all blow up on them.
Yeah, they did such a good job of setting up how much both of them care about their mission and how dedicated they are that you know that when it comes to it, both of them will have to put the mission 1st.
Hmm. Yeah, and we still don't even know all of Ram's backstory yet either,
Mm-mm.
um, which is really impressive because that is where. So this ends with Beam getting captured, and Ram basically telling him, "Look, you need to give up, or they're going to kill Molly." And that's how that ends. And what takes this from really good epic kind of action movie to sort of that next level is now we get to learn about Ram and his backstory, and we go through his flashback, which they did split up into two different flashbacks, because I have at one point a note of like, oh, more flashback. But getting his backstory of where he came from and how he became a policeman and why he's doing what he's doing turned his character, like gave his character a 180. And it was really, really good. Really well done. And I did like, there's a great clip of SS Rajamouli and Steven Spielberg having a chat over like a video call, where Spielberg's telling him like, hey, I finally got to watch your movie. I hadn't seen it when I talked to you last time, but, you know, and praising him and just like, you know, him being very gracious. And then also James Cameron talking about the movie. And there was a clip of them at an event somewhere where Cameron was kind of trying to talk to him, but it was like an after party Oscars thing. And it's really loud and there's a lot of things going on. So they didn't get to talk much, but it was this clip I saw of Cameron on a different thing without Rajmouli there, talking about RRR and how much he liked the storytelling of it. And especially that third act with Ram. And I respected that, because he didn't have to talk about it to somebody else. And he even said, like, I mentioned it to the director, but we didn't get to talk very much. And I would like to talk to him again more about it. And
that's very cool.
It's really cool because it shows you the effect that it's having on other people. Then it's good storytelling. And that's what your movie should do. Your movie should tell a good story. And it really does here, because learning Ram's background and finding out what happened in his village, and the fact that his father was a soldier or policeman. I think he was a soldier.
Yeah, he was a soldier with the British militia.
Yeah, and kind of how he fell out of that because of the governor, Scott Buxton. And that's where we get the clip that I played at the beginning, which is that same exact speech about the bullet. And he like left and he goes back to the village. He's training his people, right? Because they're going to revolt. They're going to have a revolution. And that whole thing is just heartbreaking, but made so much more by when the British soldiers show up and start shooting at their village. And like they get pinned down and he's getting everybody out. Again, a thing that I wasn't prepared for and wasn't expecting was a child to get shot.
Yes. Oh, that's such a gut punch when that happens.
It really is, because it comes out of nowhere. And you know what though? That's how you do that. And it creates that drama, because now we've added so much more. And I liked, again, a callback. So earlier in the movie, during our friendly montage of getting to know each other, Beam as Akhtar brings Ram to his house and they're eating. And Beam's mom at that point tells him, hey, don't eat with your left hand. And he's like, yeah, but I can eat more that way. Like, I'm really hungry. Flashback. During the flashback, you've got Ram eating with his family and his little brother is eating with his left hand. Same thing. It's a subtle thing. If you're not really looking for it, you're not going to make that connection, but it's a great connection of their brothership, their brotherhood, right there. So then to see his little brother get shot and his mom get shot right in front of him. And meanwhile, his father is, holding the line and trying to teach him how to shoot, because he's had the whole thing of like, they're not allowed to, they only have so many bullets, right? So they're training with the wooden guns, but he sneaks off and fires the rifle once, but he cracks shot with it, which is a great moment. You fire from those boulders? No. From over there. And it's like 3 times as far. But that whole thing, and like, I tell you what, that kid was a hell of a shot, because he was picking them off left and right. But just such a rough background. And that flashback alone gives us a ton. But when they come back to it later, it's even more. Which I want to save. I want to save just that little bit, because Ram puts his mission on hold to save Beam. Because Beam is going to get hung or hanged, depending on how you want to say it. And and the thing about it is everything he's been working towards is coming to fruition. He's gotten the promotion for capturing Beam, right, of special officer. And he is now in charge of distributing weapons to different areas. So he's going to be able to do what he set out to do, which his father wanted him to do, which is get weapons to everyone so that they can have their revolution. And we finally have learned that that was his reasoning behind all of this. So it's a great reason for it. And he's even going to get to be the courier and take the weapons, right? So he's got exactly what he wants, but he's not going to do it. He's now got to put that on hold to rescue his friend.
Well, I think we get the moment before that where he is the scourge, where he's having to literally whip his friend bloody.
Okay. So Catherine, Allison Duty's character, was already terrible. This scene put her beyond all of that. Because wow. And apparently she just carries that whip with spikes around just in case. So she just got it with her at all times.
She just brings it to public executions because she wants to see blood.
Public floggings. Yeah, that was her whole thing. He's not bleeding enough. Oof. So yeah, that scene is another one where the music is really important. Because him singing that song, and there's a moment in that where he's singing his song, he's getting whipped, and Rom pulls the whip and some of the blood like splatters on his face. He gets a line of blood and he's wiping it away, but he's also wiping away a tear at the same time because, Rom doesn't want to be doing this, but he has to. And he can't show the emotion, but he has to feel the emotion. Like I can't, as an actor, that has to be just an amazing sequence to try and do, where you have to have and feel the emotion, but not show the emotion, but yet somehow convey that it's there.
Yeah, you have to show the character not showing the emotion.
And it just, he nails it. He absolutely does. Like you can see the turmoil in him.
And it's this incredible heroic sequence of them swearing they're going to make Beam kneel. And he just keeps refusing and singing this song and refusing to go down.
The song, which it took me a bit to figure out, it's the same melody as Molly's song, just different lyrics. And I thought that was gorgeous. Absolutely beautiful. If it wasn't for Natu Natu, that would be my favorite song in this movie. But Natu Natu's a whole other level. Like
it's so fun.
It's just not fair. So yeah, so when Rom has to rescue him, that's a great action sequence. But now Rom is trying to rescue him, but Beam doesn't trust him anymore. So they're still at button heads, which does end with a great moment where you got a soldier's going to shoot him, and Molly's running, and Rom is running behind her, pistol drawn. So it looks like he's going to shoot her to Beam, who jumps out of the way. She dives, and he's actually shooting the guy behind him. Like it's this whole confluence of things. But I like that because that's a way to do a miscommunication without it feeling like a forced miscommunication.
Like it totally is believable that Beam would think he's out to kill him because you literally just whip the skin off this man's back. Why should he trust you?
Exactly. So yeah, I liked how that all played out, and of course he has him down, but rather he can't bring himself to kill him, so he just leaves him there and runs, and they get away. So they get away, but now he's captured, right?
Yeah, you get that again, that same moment of Rom realizing that he has to sacrifice himself for Beam, and so he like throws himself into the British soldiers, taking down 5 at once with and he's wounded. He's not able to really fight anymore.
That's
so
right.
He's using their momentum to throw him into the other soldiers to take them down.
That's right, because he fell into that tree and got impaled on that tree. Yeah, that's how you take down 5 soldiers by using one arm for each soldier and one leg for each soldier, and just let them do the work. That was pretty good. So he's captured, and then we kind of fast forward a couple of months, right? Because now, like,
Mhm.
the soldiers are all looking for Beam and for the tribe and everybody, and he's busy hiding. Um, and Rom is now captured, and he's in jail. Lets his hair get long, his beard grows out. Which at first I was like, I don't like the look, but no, it's a good look.
Mhm.
It works.
It
Um,
cleans up once he gets a little cleaner out of there at the end.
yeah. I do like them coming up to him, and they're saying like, yeah, we're only feeding him once a week, and then he's in there doing pull-ups in his
Yeah.
jail cell. Like, oh, that's just such a flex.
Oh, it
Uh,
is.
um, but they're searching for him. They're going to execute Rom in like 2 days. They're searching for
Mhm.
Beam, and this is where Beam meets Sita, who is
Mhm.
Rom's girl from his village, that we've seen in the flashbacks, and we saw a flashback of, or maybe it was just her in the village, like waiting for him.
I think seeing him off. Oh yeah, we see him waiting for a letter for him.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
Um, and then, but now she is there looking for him,
Mhm.
um, because she got the letter that he's going to be executed, and happens to be in the same place that Beam is, because she doesn't, at this point, she doesn't know who Beam is. And I kind of
Right.
like the way that this all played out, because it, again, is a quick introduction to her that we haven't really met yet, but for her to see that these people are hiding, and kindness, out of kindness, protect them in a very clever way. So, like, she
Mhm.
quickly comes up with, oh no, this person has smallpox, we need help. Like, because she knows 100% that's just going to make them run. It's perfect.
Yeah. It's just beautiful. I can't tell them not to look, but I can tell them, please, please come look. And
Yes,
they won't want to now.
exactly. Hiding in plain sight. Um, and when Beam realizes who she is, because she says her
Mhm.
name, and then when she's like leaning forward to pour some water or something, or put food or whatever, and the necklace pops out, and he
Mhm.
sees that, and then the realization is so good. It's great, because now he understands, and then she tells his story. We get the other part of Rom's backstory, and if it wasn't heartbreaking enough that this poor kid had to watch his little brother and his mom get shot by the British soldiers while his dad is there bleeding out, um, no, we're gonna pile some more trauma on that cake, and have dad strap TNT to himself to take out the rest of the soldiers, so that the rest of them, including his son, can get away.
And his dying wish is for Ram to put a gun in every one of his villagers' hands.
I mean, whew, boy, it's heavy. But Beam, learning this now, understands why Rom did what he did. And it's such a good story arc for both of them, because Beam, who started off with a singular focus of rescuing his sister and bringing her back to the village, and Rom, who we've met and established is singularly focused, but we didn't know to what extent yet. And now we do. And he was trying to save the country. Now they flipped that, right? Because Rom put on hold saving the country to save his friend, one person. And so now Beam is going to go through and save one person in order to help save the country, and save his best friend. I loved that.
Mhm.
And so the rescuing scene is wonderful. It's a little ridiculous with like knocking on the ground
Yeah.
and knocking on the wall, but you know what? At this point, like, the movie's done enough. I don't really care. Um, but rescuing him now, Rom can't walk. His legs are all busted up. Uh, so you do the next best thing, because we've had them meet, we've had them become friends, we've had that sequence where they're dancing in sync, but then they've split apart, and now they've come back together. And so, what better way to represent that than to have them fight as one?
Yep, we get a Voltron of awesomeness.
Yeah, they become Goro, basically. And it's a nice callback to Beam doing the squats with Rom on his shoulders. I adored all of this. This was so much fun because it looks just plausible enough while also being completely goofy. Because there's no way you'd be able to run with any kind of balance at that point. Certainly not with any speed, but it's so good. And he's like fighting people from his shoulders. And then when they start getting the rifles and he's firing the rifles and like dropping them down so Beam can cock the rifles and reload them. Oh, it felt like being wrapped up in a warm blanket of action movie. It was so good. And then climbing up the scaffolding to get to that tower. And they get up there and they swing to like kick the guy off the tower, and they're jumping. Oh, it's the right kind of ridiculous to have so much fun, because the movie has established that that's what this is. Like, that's what goes on here, is this kind of level of silly. And so
Yeah.
it adheres to that and it stays with it. And it's a ton of fun. And we're not even done yet, because there's a whole other scene that took it up another notch. And because they get away, right? They run off and he takes them out to the woods. And that's where Beam kind of converts him into Raju, Alluri Sitarama Raju, right? Because he gives him the clothing.
Well, he also converts him into Rama at that point, because that is a shrine to Rama.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And he's got and again, another callback was one guy with his bow and arrow fighting everybody. And I was like, oh, there we go. There's the bow. There's the arrows. All right. Which one of them gets it? And I thought it was going to be Beam at first, because I don't know my Indian mythology at all. I will admit that, but no, it wasn't. And again, like, just entrance shots, those hero shots are so good in this. And you get that with him here, that backlit shot with the flaming arrow, and this action sequence in the woods and in this fight.
Oh.
We've had some fun so far in our action here, right? We're 2 hours and 40 minutes in. We have had one guy fight 100 guys. We've had dance off. We've had guys fighting like Voltron. Now we've got arrows flying in every direction. And then my single favorite thing that happened in the movie. So my favorite shot is the introduction of Beam. But my single favorite thing that happened in this movie is, again, Beam. And it's during this fight, we've seen the slow-mo and we've seen them working in sync and beating guys up. But a motorcycle is coming at him.
Yes.
And he stops. I think he kicks the motorcycle's front tire, flips it end over end, so he can grab it by the back wheel and start swinging it around like a damn club. And I was cackling at this moment. It was so perfect. It was that moment of like, you ever get so angry that you beat a guy with another guy? And like, it was that type of energy. He just took that motorcycle and just started beating people with it. And I'm just sitting here thinking to myself, this is completely insane, and I am here for all of it.
Oh yeah, they've achieved full demigod status, and they finally like fully tapped into their powers, and it's glorious.
Oh yeah. No, it's great. And I didn't mention, but both Scott and Catherine Buxton's deaths were glorious. And if nothing else, we didn't linger on them too long, but they definitely deserved what they got. Especially Catherine.
Oh yeah,
she went out rough.
She went out the way she wanted Rom to go.
Yeah, just, you know what? She deserved it. She earned that one, and so did Scott. Ray Stevenson's character deserved what he got. He was terrible, so I did like the wonderful shot of the blood going over the sun never sets in the English Empire. Poetic. But yeah, this whole action sequence at the end, it's just one after the other, and what's impressive about it is they're all unique and different while feeling like they all belong in this movie. None of them feel out of place in this without retreading. And that's hard to do. And it's hard to do in a way that is utilizing the same techniques, because there's a lot of slow motion and hyper real looking stuff. And to do that, it's one of the things that the John Wick franchise does so well, where they have their action set pieces and they manage to give you something new in every movie. And
Mhm.
RRR did that in every one of these sequences. They were able to build upon what they had done before and give us something new. And I liked that. Something that I was seeing things in an action sequence I hadn't seen before. The bike being
Yeah.
one of them.
Yeah, it kept getting bigger and more ridiculous to the point where you would believe, yeah, he's fighting with a motorcycle. Of course he is. Why not? He's big. He can do this.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. And then that kind of ends things. But this movie, I'm not doing it justice for how much fun I had watching this,
Mhm.
and why I waited 2.5 years or whatever it is since it came out to watch it. I don't know if I'm going to quite go the level of Bombats and watch it 8 or 9 times in the next month. But this is one I will watch again because it is that much fun and there's so much to take in from it. And when I was watching the behind the scenes, one of the things that Rajamouli said was one of the first things he said was a good story should be a good story regardless of if you have the background for it or not. Doesn't matter what culture it is, if it's a good story. And it's similar to a conversation I was having a couple months back talking about the movie Better Man
Mhm.
with Charles McFall. That movie, you don't have to know who Robbie Williams is to enjoy the story being told in that movie. And same thing here. I did not and still don't have a great background. I've done a little bit here and there with Indian culture, but not a ton. Most of it was like taking Eastern religion classes in college as electives. So I learned a little bit there, but it was very surface level. So I don't know a ton about that mythology. It's just a thing that I never dove into. I want to more now, but I
Mhm.
also didn't need to in order to enjoy the story being told here. And that's powerful and that's important. And I think that's really smart. Is they were like, no, we just want to tell a good story. And then if you know more, you're going to get more out of it. Like
Mhm.
not knowing about that either of these two main characters were real historical figures until the end didn't affect my enjoyment of this movie at all. And it just made it, learning that was like, oh, that's really cool. I want to read about their stories, which is why it reminded me of Fearless.
Yeah, I had sort of the same experience with the historical character. I did not know they were real people until they started showing the flags at the end. But I didn't even pick up on the mythological stuff until we got to they introduced Sita. And I wait, Ram and Sita?
Yeah.
Are we? Oh, we are doing that. We're doing the Ramayana, which I had done an episode on back in episode 79, I think. So it had been a while. But going back and rewatching it, you do pick up so much. Once you get that, you get so much more out of it, but you don't need it to enjoy it.
And it makes um Beam's line to her so much better to learn that
Hmm.
that's what they're doing when he says Sita should not go after Ram. Ram should come to Sita. I will bring
Hmm.
him to you. Like I loved that because in the moment, initially watching it, I'm like, that's really cool. He's going to do that for her, and then then I learn, oh, it's even better. Like it just makes it hit that much harder. So this is filmmaking from some people, a whole lot of people that knew what they were doing, that really wanted to tell this good story. And this is similar. Last week I talked about Dune Part 2, and one of my things with that was Denis Villeneuve and the whole production team and all of the actors, they wanted to tell this story and everybody's bringing their A game. That's what this is. RRR is that level of filmmaking. It's a
Hmm.
totally different technique of that storytelling, because this is Dune Part 2 is epic and it's scaled, but it's a Western storytelling.
Hmm.
This is a different type of storytelling, but it's the same thing. We're going to tell this mythological, epic story, but we're also going to throw in music. in a different way than Dune would do. And we're going to throw in dance because it's very important to the culture and it's very important to just the stories in general and the way the music is woven in and the use of the music and in the story and giving us these backgrounds and then the performances. I mean, everybody in this is bringing their A game and all of the technical team. And when you watch some of the behind the scenes and you see like the way that how much work they put into practice and choreography and then showing up on the day and doing things, and the fact that they shot like the party sequence was shot in Ukraine.
Really?
Yeah, and they talked about having the Indian crew there working with locals. And Rajamouli had said like it can be tough sometimes when we're filming in different parts of the world because not everybody has the same kind of rules around work or work ethics. But he said the crews in Ukraine within 2 days figured out, oh, that's how they want to work. All right. And they fell into that work cycle. But the challenges of that and the language barriers you've got, you probably have, I mean, a lot of them spoke English or whatever language, but at the same time, you would have some that don't speak the same languages. So you got to have your translations there. You got to work with everybody. You've got, between stunt teams and visual effects teams and camera teams, and they've all got to work together to create what this movie was. It's astounding. It's
Yeah,
really,
it's
really good.
incredible. And I really loved how integral music was because you get that whole thing at the end where Beam, like Ram is like, I'm trying to start this revolution with guns, and Beam did it with a single song. Like just showing how powerful music is and how integral it is to this culture.
That moment, that was such a good bit of character work from Charon at that moment because like is Ram realizing, oh, there's more to this than just getting the guns. And to then have Ram let Beam take the shot too was a great moment. It's just there's a moment from behind the scenes of Star Wars Episode 1 where George Lucas is talking about something and having it rhyme. He's like, it's like poetry, it rhymes. And some people have kind of made that into a meme and they joke about it, but it works. And that's what a lot of this storytelling is. And that did that here. Those callbacks and those rhyming stanzas of beats are what you need to be compelling, especially when you're going to tell a 3-hour epic story. And it's really about two men. It's about these two guys, and Sita comes into it at the end. But it's also about an entire country. Just genius, just brilliance all around. If you haven't seen this movie, it's on Netflix. If you've got a Netflix subscription, watch it. It's really worth your time. You don't have to be like me and sit and watch it in one sitting. If 3 hours is too long, break it up. You won't have a problem. But it's absolutely worth seeing. Thank you, MC, for getting me to watch this one.
I love this movie. I cannot thank you enough for giving me an excuse to watch it and watch it again.
Well, I can't thank you enough for giving me an excuse to finally watch it. It won't be the last time I see this movie, that's for sure. Bombats, you should be happy to know. And I agree. It is a great intro into Indian cinema, and it's going to make me want to watch more. I love branching out and seeing, like, I love Hong Kong cinema. I grew up. That was one that I did get exposed to at a young age because you could catch those on, your Saturday matinees. We'd show a lot of those, or they were just kind of accessible. So Hong Kong cinema has always been one that I've been interested in. But Indian cinema is something that I've wanted to explore more of because I just want to see storytelling from different parts of the world. I love storytelling. So
yeah, same. Like for me, I was exposed very young to like Godzilla and Toho and a lot of Japanese cinema, but Indian not so much.
Yeah, it's just not something that American audiences, I think, get exposed to because I think in part the musical aspect of it and the dance getting thrown in there for a long time. I know I wouldn't have gone after something like that just for those reasons because I thought I didn't like that. Turns out I do actually like musicals when they're good. And the way it's woven into this movie, because there's songs woven throughout, but there's only one that there's only two instances where it's front and center as part of the scene. But in one, in the whipping flogging scene, it's the duality of the song going on while the flogging is happening. And the other one with Natu Natu is this is happening. Enjoy this, because this is these two men like coming together and their friendship at its peak. And it's also absolutely bonkers. And that song is stuck in my head forever. So
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We got that moment of absolute euphoria and that moment of absolute despair. And it's this really great inversion of itself, which this movie does a lot. This movie loves to invert itself and do these mirror images of itself.
absolutely. Oh, so much fun. Well, thank you for getting me to watch this. This was great fun. Now, you have a podcast you do, right?
I do.
Let us know about that one. Remind us.
Yeah. So I'm the host of Myths Your Teacher Hated. It's a mythology podcast that's been going on for about 8.5 years.
Nice.
And the idea is to take mythology from all over the world that, much like this movie, people aren't necessarily exposed to, and try to tell the story in a way that is engaging to a modern audience. Because, like, I remember in school learning a lot of these myths and having read them on my own, the difference between the way you can find them in the original versus the way they're told now makes them sound so dry and boring and uninteresting. And like, it's like we see in RRR. These are action movies. These are exciting. These are larger than life, and they should be fun. And so I tried to make them fun.
Excellent. Yeah, mythology is fascinating stuff because it is that oral history tradition, and there's so much more to it that we don't know. Like, you think of Norse mythology, and there's a lot of that like most audiences just don't quite get. Or there's a lot of layers to it. The same thing with even Greek and Roman mythology, and you got Germanic stuff, and there's all these. There's a lot of depth to a lot of it that we just don't know because you only see the adaptations of it. So I like the idea of diving into that and telling it in a way that is entertaining, because it can get a little dry and it can also get dense. It's very dense. There's a lot.
It can be, yeah.
So that's really cool. It's a fun show. Myths Your Teacher Hated.
Yeah, we're on all the social medias: Facebook, Tumblr, Blue Sky, all the fun places.
Excellent. Definitely check that out. And then you also do you go to Dragon Con. I know we hung out there. We were on a panel together, right?
We were on a panel together, yeah. Alas, I cannot go this year, but yes, I have gone in years past. It is a fantastic convention. I highly recommend checking it out. It's so much fun.
Absolutely. It's a bummer you won't be able to make it this year, but I understand.
Yeah, I'm sad about it, but alas.
Now next week I've got the Horse Girls coming back.
Ooh.
Haven't had them on for a little bit. This will be fun. I'm going to watch Spirit, Stallion of the Cimarron, I think is how it's pronounced.
Yes. I
Cimarron.
believe Cimarron is correct. Yes, that's a good movie.
I am going to be watching that one for the first time. And
you're in for a treat.
Chat with me. They kept threatening to turn me into a horse girl, so it's what they do.
Horse girls will save the world. Horse girls will save the world.
No, you know what? You're not wrong. So that's coming up next week, and then after that, I've got a real fun one with good friend Steven Adams, and I'm making him watch Smoking Aces. So
I've heard of that one. I have not seen it.
It's definitely a lot of fun. 2006 crazy action movie. We're going to be talking about it live in Las Vegas. It's actually set in Reno. The movie is. So that'll be a lot of fun. If you get a chance to check that one out, it's directed by Joe Carnahan.
Okay.
And it's got your Ryan Reynolds and Jeremy Piven and all sorts of. The cast is nuts. Common is in it. Alicia Keys.
Wow. Okay, I got to check this out.
Yeah, definitely. But that's coming up in a couple weeks. But next week is Spirit, Stallion of the Cimarron, with the Horse Girls. So definitely come back and check that out. And if you want to hang out live while I record this show, I do it every Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time, twitch.tv/tvstravis. You can be like Bombats and a Stigma hanging out in the chat with us tonight, talking about this. And yeah, 8 p.m. Twitch.tv/tvstravis. And then the show comes out every Wednesday, anywhere you get your podcasts, including YouTube. A rating and review on your favorite podcatcher, maybe a subscription on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and you don't miss them, or subscribe on your favorite podcatcher if you want the audio version. Either way, I definitely appreciate that. You can also go to my website, tvstravis.com. I've got links to all my shows. Might even have a new one coming up soon. So check back for that. As well as links to merchandise and the Patreon. The Patreon, which you can link to from the website or go to patreon.com/WYHS, helps me do things like Dragon Con, where I will be again this year, and TMS Vegas, do those live shows. I'd like to do more of those coming up as well. So Patreon helps me to be able to afford to travel for things like that. So if you can do that, I appreciate it as well. If you can't, I understand. Just listening to the show is more than I could ever hope for. So thank you for being here for all of that. I did really enjoy this. MC, we'll do this again. I think it's been about a year since you were on, so we'll have to do it more frequently.
Absolutely. I'm always happy to do this. This is so much fun.
Excellent. Well, until next time, and the Horse Girls with Spirit, go check out some myths your teacher hated. And just remember to enjoy your movies, and let's be excellent to each other. And there's been Wait you haven't seen. That cracked me up so much to just throw that sound effect in there. It was great.